Hey everybody, welcome back to the shop. Today we're doing a fancy cutting board. I'm going to show you how to do it from start to finish. You're going to love this project. Well, a number of months ago, a friend and I were talking about a particular design that we saw on the internet. Somebody was very creative, and I thought, I would really like to try something like that. The board itself is not difficult to make, but there's an accent feature which is kind of tricky, and I'll show you that in just a moment. So I'm going to have this beautiful piece of walnut as the centerpiece, and it's got some nice ribbons in there, which you may not be able, there you go, you probably see that. So that's going to be in the center. And on the outside, I'm going to be using Paduke. And right now it looks very orange, but when I put a finish on it, it has this really rich, uh, kind of a burnt orangish brown color to it. And Paduke changes color in time. It deepens and gets a little richer. You lose more of that orange tone. So it's lovely. And then I'm going to have a couple of accent strips using maple. And that's going to be very delicate, just a fine, fine line. So again, nothing terribly complex until there's going to be some dowels inserted into this design. And these are maple. It's not like it's a rocket science, but it's just a little bit of extra effort to get these to fit into the holes properly and not have any weird gaps and all that sort of thing. So I've flattened all of this wood. I need to go ahead and cut it to size. And I have an acrylic template that will be used for this project. It's also available for sale if you guys want to try this project yourself. You'll see it in my show notes. So let's get into cutting this up and getting it glued. All right, well, I know this wood isn't square, so I'm gonna have to square it up. I ran this side through the joiner, and now I'm just gonna run this through the table saw and square everything up. Okay, and now it's just a matter of working off my cut list. Okay, this is my glue up. It's obviously a very simple glue up, and I'm just inspecting to make sure I've got everything nice and straight so I don't have any weird seams, and it looks perfect. So I'm just going to go ahead and, it's kind of a habit. I do this just so when I lay this out in the clamps to glue up, I just register this and it's always perfect. And by the way, this is on a perfectly flat piece of wood. My work table is not perfectly flat, so this kind of eliminates some of those problems. Today I'm using my Rockler panel clamps. I like them. It's kind of one of those love-hate things. People either love them or, or don't love them at all. Um, I'm fine with them. I've used them so many times. Now, you can use bar clamps as well, so it doesn't have to be very a big deal. So I'm using Type Bond 3, which is waterproof and it's food safe, and that's important. So let's glue this up in time lapse. It's been about an hour, so I want to get this wood out of the clamps. I don't want the glue to adhere to the clamp so hard that I have to break out a rubber mallet and beat on this, speaking from experience. And then I'm going to just lay it on the concrete. I simply rock this back and forth a little bit, and they're easy to remove then. I also have Rockler panel clamps that are, I think they're 36 inches in length, so I can do much bigger projects. There we go. So I can go ahead and take my putty knife, just clean this stuff up before it dries rock hard, and we'll be off to the races tomorrow. It's going to be a cool project. Hey, the glue up went really well. Now, off camera, I did run this through the drum sander. I wanted to get rid of the glue marks, and I wanted to make sure this thing was perfectly flat, which it now is. So we're going to be using the template that I designed, and this is what it looks like when you get it in the mail. It's got this adhesive tape paper on both sides. You want to peel that off, and this is what it looks like after you've done that. Okay. Now I've got registration marks, and I'm going to show you what that's all about. But let me pan down and we'll get this thing laid out and cut out. Well, here's what I've done. I've squared this end up, and I'm going to go ahead and lay my template down. Right now, I'm not worried about these registration holes here, but I am wanting to get the radius of the board. And so I've got this lined up pretty well. And I'm just going to go ahead and scribe that. Once we get this scribed, we'll go ahead to the bandsaw and cut this really close to the line that I just made. And I'm going to do the same thing on the opposite side. Again, registering from the bottom. Okay. I'm probably being a little too anal, but it's kind of who I am. All right. Cool. Let's get to the bandsaw and cut this out. Now what I'm going to do is use double-sided tape to adhere my template to the wood. And it's real simple. And this tape is called spec tape. There's other brands out there, and I really like this one. It's easier to peel the backing off. It's plenty sticky enough, not too sticky. All right. And what I'm going to do is use my awl and just pop up, theoretically, pop up the tape. There we go. It's that backing. Okay. Now let's go ahead and lay this out. I've got my registration marks. I want to make sure that I'm leaving a space all the way around so that my flush trim bit can do the work. There we go. Okay, so off to the router table, we use the flush trim bit. I'll do that in time lapse to save your ears. And then what I'll do is I'll peel this template up and then go ahead and stick it on this side, do the exact same thing. Well, to get this template removed, just get a cheapy putty knife and they pop right up. When I swapped my template, I didn't have to put in new tape. I'd already wiped down the surface, so they're good for a couple of uses. So there's that. So now what I'm going to do is use a round over. You can do a 45, a nice little bevel, but I'm going to do a round over on that. I tend to prefer it. And I'm going to get the round over done, and then we're going to do some cool stuff with these little holes here. You'll be surprised. Well, the next step is to find center of this board, and I took the liberty to do that off camera. And what I'm going to do is just simply scribe a line so I can reference that, because I want to put a round hole here, probably 2 inches in diameter. I'll know in just a minute. But again, this is a fancy board. It adds some really beautiful features to it. So let me get that laid out. I'll get this drilled with a Forstner bit, get the round over done, and then we'll lay out the cool stuff. This is looking really nice already, just without the fancy stuff. So that's a beautiful board. So now we're going to break out this template again, and we're going to lay out our fancy features. So what I want to do is I want to center these registration marks right on top of that little thin strip of maple. And these are 1/8 inch holes, so it's ideal for marking. You get a pencil right down in there. And I'm going to do the same thing on the opposite side. There we go. So what we're going to do is, well, there's 2 ways to do this. We could drill straight down through this board and use the dowels and have it a two-sided board where the dowel goes all the way through. Or we can use our Forstner bit on our little benchtop drill press and go down about 1/8 of an inch. And we'll place these like so. There's another option. I can do a little resaw action on some maple, get it to about 1/8 inch or maybe a little bit more, and then cut out my holes with my laser, which is exactly what I'm going to do. Now, if you're going to use the dowel method, then odds are you're probably going to have to do a little fine tuning, fine sanding, just to make sure that it sits down in the hole. With the laser, I can do it exact, so it just wedges in. I can use my little mallet and pop those in. But this gives you an idea what it's going to look like in the end, and I think it's just going to be gorgeous. All right, so I've got my light burn open, my laser's connected. I'm laid out here, and you know, if this is wrong, I don't want to be right because it's a real time saver. Check this out. It goes so fast. All right, let's take a look-see. There you have it. Perfect holes. Well, that laser tip is really cool. What a time saver. I wish I could take credit for that, but I can't. My friend Skylar over at Sawdust and Splinters, check out her YouTube channel. She shared that little tidbit with me, and wow, what a game changer. So what I've done, we have these registration marks here, and I just use my awl. I poked a little hole so I can register my Forstner bit, and I'm going to go ahead and countersink all of these 6 holes, about 1/8 of an inch. And then we're going to glue these in, run this through the sander, and apply finish. I blew out the holes with high pressure air, and then I'm going to go ahead and use some CA glue and just plop these discs down here one at a time. And then I'm going to take a look at my grain. That looks good right there. And then I'm going to give it a little tap. Perfect. So I'm going to keep doing this until all 6 are done. And then I'm going to run this through the drum sander and take off any excess. Well, I ran this through the drum sander. It looks absolutely fantastic. I'm super happy with this project. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to sand at 120, 180, and 220. I'm going to water pop, come back and resand at 220, and then we'll go ahead and apply the finish. And that's when I'm going to bring you back, because I want you to see how this grain is just going to pop. I think you're going to like it a lot. Final sanding is done, and it's time to finish. Now, I do have a couple of videos on my YouTube channel, so check that out if you want a complete step-by-step on how to finish your beautiful projects. But let me tell you just in a nutshell what I'm doing. My first step, these are my secret weapons. I use my board butter, and you're going to see that in action in just a second. It does a tremendous job. Because this is a premium board, I'm going to use Skylar Ewing's abrasive paste, and I'm going to be using my buffer. And what that will do is it's going to create this beautiful leathery velvety feel. It'll be truly amazing. I wipe off the excess, and then I come back with a fresh pad on my buffer, and I apply carnauba wood finish and polish. And I'm going to buff that at a high RPM. That'll set that wax in very deeply, and in about 20 minutes I'll just wipe it off, and this project will be done. Well, again, I have these templates in my store. It's going to be in the show notes, so they're very affordable and versatile. Now, let's take a look at the money shot. That is just gorgeous. I couldn't be happier. I mean, it just worked out fantastic. I love the inlay. I look forward to doing more of that. So you've got the pretty side, which you can just keep in your kitchen as a display, but then you've got more of a utilitarian style, and cut away on that, but you can keep that beautiful side looking fresh and gorgeous. So thanks for following along. Please hit subscribe, hit the bell, get all the notifications, and here's what's coming up next. We don't talk a lot about it. You don't see me wear my personal protection, but I do. And the reason you don't see me wear it is it's pretty hard to talk to you like this. Makes for some really bad video. But this is a 3M mask. I've been contacted by an outfit that has an intriguing looking mask. I look forward to giving it a go, and you're going to hear all about that. So stay tuned. We'll see you next time.